This is the Eternal Record Bible, dictated by Yeshua HaMashiac, transcribed by Heaven's 12th General. First Book of Maccabees, Lost Book, Chapter 8. Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the country of Spain, for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were very far from them, and the kings also that came against them from the uttermost part of the earth, till they had discomfited them, and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest gave them tribute every year. Beside this, how they had discomfited in battle Philip and Perseus, king of the Sidonians, with others that lifted up themselves against them, and had overcome them. How also Antiochus, the great king of Asia, that came against them in battle, having 120 elephants, with horsemen and chariots, and a very great army, was discomfited by them, and how they took him alive, and covenanted that he and such as reigned after him should pay a great tribute, and give hostages and a parcel of land. The country of India, and Media, and Lydia, and of the goodliest countries, which they took of him, and gave to King Eumenes. Moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them, and that they, having knowledge thereof, sent against them a certain captain, and fought with them, and slew many of them, and carried away captives, and possessed their strongholds, and overcame them, and how they kept their land in rest, and all that they took in hand prospered, so that the kings and princes who attempted them were overcome before them. But with their friends and such as relied upon them they kept amity, and that they had conquered kingdoms both far and near, insomuch as all that heard of their names were afraid of them. Also that, whom they would help to a kingdom, those reigned, and whom again they displaced. Finally, that they were greatly exalted. Yet for all of this, none of them wore a crown, or was clothed in purple, to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they made for themselves a senate house, and that daily 320 men sat in council, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them. In consideration of these things, Judas chose Eupolemus, the son of John, the son of Achos, and Jason, the son of Eleazar, and sent them to Rome to make a league of amity and confederacy with them, and to entreat them that they should take the yoke from them, for they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. They went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, where they spoke and said, Judas Maccabeus with his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us unto you to make a confederacy and peace with you, and that we might be registered your confederates and friends. So the matter pleased the Romans well. And this is the copy of the writing which they wrote back again, graven in tables of brass, and sent to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. Good success be to the Romans and to the people of the Jews, by sea and by land forever. The sword also and enemy be far from them. If there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates throughout all their dominion, the peoples of the Jews shall help them, as the time shall be appointed, with all their heart. Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships, as it has seemed good unto the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants without taking anything in return. In the same manner also, if war came first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall be appointed. Neither shall victuals be given to them that take part against them, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it has seemed good to the Romans, but they shall keep their covenants, and that without deceit. According to these articles did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Jews. Howbeit, if hereafter the one party or the other shall think to add or diminish anything, they may do it at their pleasure, and whatever they shall add or take away shall be ratified. And as touching the evils that Demetrius the king has done against them, we have written unto him, saying, Wherefore have you made your yoke heavy upon our friends and confederates the Jews? If therefore they complain any more against you, we will do them justice, and fight with you by sea and by land. Chapter 9. Furthermore, when Demetrius heard that Nicanor and his host were slain in battle, he sent Bacchides and Alcimus into the land of Judea the second time, and with them the chief strength of his host, who went forth by the way that leads to Gilgal, and pitched their tents before Masaloth, which is in Arbela. And after they had won it, they slew much people. Also the first month of the 152nd year, they encamped before Jerusalem, from whence they removed and went to Berea, with 20,000 footmen and 2,000 horsemen. Now Judas had pitched his tents at Eleasa, and 3,000 chosen men with him, who, seeing the multitude of the other army to be so great, were sore afraid, whereupon many conveyed themselves out of the host, so that there abode of them no more than 800 men. When Judas saw therefore that his host slipped away, and that the battle pressed upon him, he was sore troubled in mind, and much distressed, for he had no time to gather them together. Nevertheless, unto them that remained he said, Let us arise and go up against our enemies, if peradventure we may be able to fight with them. But they dehorted him, saying, We will not be able. Let us rather save our lives now, and return again with our brethren, and then we will fight against them, for we are but few. Then Judas said, God forbid that I should do this thing, and flee away from them. If our time be come, let us die in battle for our brethren, and let us not stain our honor. As soon as he had made an end of speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them, and so Bacchides' host was discomfited, who fell down of them a great number to the earth, about 2,000 men. Nevertheless, Judas' side was overthrown, and the most valiant men of his host were slain, and Judas himself also fell, and the remnant fled. Then Jonathan and Simon took Judas their brother, and buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers in Modin. Moreover, they bewailed him, and all Israel made great lamentation for him, and mourned many days, saying, How is the valiant man fallen that delivered Israel? As for the other things concerning Judas and his wars, and the noble acts which he did, and his greatness, they are not written, for they were very many. Now, after the death of Judas, the wicked began to put forth their heads in all the coasts of Israel, and all they that worked iniquity arose. In those days also there was a great famine. By reason thereof the country revolted to them. Then Bacchides chose the wicked men, and made them lords of the country. And they made inquisition, and searched for the friends of Judas, and brought them unto Bacchides, who took vengeance of them, and used them despitefully. So great tribulation was in Israel, the like whereof was not since the time that a prophet was not seen among them. For this cause all the friends of Judas came together, and said unto Jonathan, Since your brother Judas died, we have no man like him to go forth against our enemies, and Bacchides, and against them of our nation that are adversaries to us. Now, therefore, we have chosen you this day to be our prince and captain in his stead, that you may fight our battles. Upon this, Jonathan took the governance upon him at that time, and rose up in the stead of his brother Judas. And Bacchides knew it, and sought to slay him. Then Jonathan and Simon his brother and all that were with him, perceiving it, fled into the wilderness of Thako, and pitched their tents by the water of the pool Asphar, which, when Bacchides understood, he came near to Jordan with all his host upon the Sabbath day. Now Jonathan had sent his brother John, a captain of the people, to pray his friends the Nabotites, that they might leave with them their carriage, which was much. But the children of Jambri came out of Medaba and took John and all that he had and went their way with it. After this came word to Jonathan and Simon his brother that the children of Jambri made a great marriage and were bringing the bride from Nadabatha with a great train, as being the daughter of one of the great princes of Canaan. Therefore they remembered John their brother and went up and hid themselves under the covert of the mountain, where they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, there was much ado and great carriage. And the bridegroom came forth, and his friends and brethren to meet them with timbrels and instruments of music and many weapons. Then Jonathan and they that lay in wait rose up against them from the place where they lay in ambush, and made a slaughter of them in such sort as many fell down slain, and the remnant fled into the mountain, and they took all their spoils. Thus was the marriage turned into mourning, and the noise of their melody into lamentation. So when they had avenged fully the blood of their brother, they turned again to the marsh of Jordan. Now when Bacchides heard hereof, he came on the Sabbath day unto the banks of Jordan with a great power. Then Jonathan said to his company, Let us stand up now and fight for our lives, for it is not today as in time past. For behold, the battle is before us and behind us, the water of Jordan on this side and on that side, the marsh likewise and wood, neither is there place for us to turn aside. Now, therefore, cry unto heaven, that you may be delivered from the hand of your enemies. With that they joined battle, and Jonathan stretched forth his hand to smite Bacchides, but he turned back from him. Then Jonathan and they that were with him leapt into Jordan, and swam over unto the other bank. Howbeit the other passed not over Jordan unto them. So there were slain of Bacchides' side that day about 1,000 men. Afterward returned Bacchides to Jerusalem, and repaired the strong cities in Judea, the fortress in Jericho, and Emmaus, and Bethhoron, and Bethel, and Tomnitha, Pharathon, and Tethon, with high walls and gates and bars. And in them he set a garrison, that they might work malice upon Israel. He fortified also the city of Bethsura and Gazara and the tower, and put forces in them and provision of victuals. Besides, he took the chief's men's sons in the country for hostages, and put them into the tower at Jerusalem to be kept. Moreover, the 153rd year, in the 2nd month, Alcimus commanded that the wall of the inner court of the sanctuary should be pulled down. He had pulled down also the works of the prophets. And as he began to pull down, at that time Alcimus was plagued, and his works hindered, for his mouth was stopped, and he was taken with palsy, so that he could no more speak anything, nor give order concerning his house. So Alcimus died at that time with great torment. Now, when Bacchides saw that Alcimus was dead, he returned to the king, whereupon the land of Judea was in rest 2 years. Then all the ungodly men held a council, saying, Behold, Jonathan and his company are at ease and dwell without care. Now, therefore, we will bring Bacchides again, who will take them all in one night. So they went and consulted with him, then removed him, and came with a great host, and sent letters privily to his adherents in Judea, that they should take Jonathan and those that were with him. Howbeit they could not, for their counsel was known unto them. Wherefore they took of the men of the country that were authors of that mischief about 50 persons, and slew them. Then Jonathan and Simon and they that were with him got them away to Bethbasi, which is in the wilderness, and they repaired the decays thereof and made it strong. When Bacchides knew this, he gathered together all his host and sent word to them that were of Judea. Then went he and laid siege against Bethbasi, and they fought against it a long season and made engines of war. But Jonathan left his brother Simon in the city and went forth himself into the country, and with a certain number he went. And he smote Odenarchus and his brother, and the children of Phasaron in their tent. And when he began to smite them and came up with his forces, Simon and his company went out of the city and set fire on the engines of war. So they fought against Maccabees, who was discomfited by them, and they afflicted him sore for his counsel, and his travail was in vain. Wherefore he was very angry at the wicked men that gave him counsel to come into the country, inasmuch as he slew many of them, and purposed to return into his own land. Whereof when Jonathan had knowledge, he sent ambassadors unto him, to the end he should make peace with him, and deliver them their prisoners. Which thing he accepted, and did according to his demands, and swore unto him that he would never do him harm all the days of his life. When therefore he had returned unto him the prisoners that he had taken aforetime out of the land of Judea, he returned and went his way into his own land. Neither came he any more into their borders. Thus the sword ceased from Israel. But Jonathan dwelt at Michmash, and began to govern the people, and he destroyed the ungodly men out of Israel. Chapter 10. In the 160th year, Alexander, the son of Antiochus Epiphanes, went up and took Ptolemais, for the people had received him, by which means he reigned there. Now when King Demetrius heard thereof, he gathered together an exceeding great host, and went forth against him to fight. Moreover, Demetrius sent letters unto Jonathan with loving words, so as he magnified him. For he said, Let us first make peace with him, before he join with Alexander against us. Else he will remember all the evils that we have done against him, and against his brethren and his people. Wherefore he gave him authority to gather an host, and to provide weapons, that he might aid him in battle. He commanded also that the hostages that were in the tower should be delivered him. Then came Jonathan to Jerusalem, and read the letters in the audience of all the people, and of them that were in the tower, who were sore afraid, when they heard that the king had given him authority to gather together an host. Wherefore they of the tower delivered their hostages unto Jonathan, and he restored them unto their parents. And Jonathan dwelt at Jerusalem, and began to build and repair the city. And he commanded the workmen to build the walls and the Mount Zion round about with square stones for fortification, and they did so. Then the strangers that were in the fortresses which Maccabees had built fled away. Every man left his place and departed into his own country. Only at Bethsura, certain of those that had forsaken the law and the commandments remained still, for it was their place of refuge. Now, King Alexander heard what promises Demetrius had sent unto Jonathan, when also it was told him of the battles and noble acts which he and his brethren had done, and of the pains that they had endured. Then said he, Shall we find such another man? Now, therefore, we will make him our friend and confederate. Upon this he wrote a letter and sent it unto him, according to these words, saying, King Alexander, to his brother Jonathan, sends greeting. We have heard of you, that you are a valiant man and worthy to be our friend. Wherefore now this day we ordain you to be the high priest of your nation, and to be called the king's friend. And therewith he sent him a purple robe and a crown of gold, and required you to take our part and keep friendship with us. Then for the first time Jonathan put on the holy robe in the 7th month, in the 160th year, at the Feast of Tabernacles, and he gathered together forces and provided much armor. Whereof, when Demetrius heard, he was very sorry, and said, What have we done, that Alexander has prevented us in making amity with the Jews to strengthen himself? I will also write unto them words of encouragement and of promise of honor and gifts, that I may have their support. Wherefore he sent unto them after this manner, King Demetrius, unto the people of the Jews, sends greeting. Whereas you have kept covenants with us, and continued in our friendship, not joining yourselves with our enemies, we have heard thereof, and are glad. Wherefore now continue you still to be faithful unto us, and we will reward you with good things for what you do in our behalf. And now I do free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews from tributes, and from the customs of salt, and from crown taxes, and from that which appertains unto me, to receive for the third part of the seed, and the half of the fruit trees, I release from this day forward, so that they shall not be taken of the land of Judea, nor of the 3 governments which are added unto it out of the country of Samaria and Galilee, from this day forth forevermore. Let Jerusalem also be holy and free, with the borders thereof, both from tenths and tributes. I yield up also the authority of the castle that is at Jerusalem, and give it to the high priest, that he may set in it such men as he shall choose to keep it. Moreover, I freely set at liberty every one of the Jews that were carried captives out of the land of Judea into any part of my kingdom. And I will that all my officers remit the tributes, even of their cattle. Furthermore, I will that all the feasts and Sabbaths and new moons and solemn days, and the 3 days before the feast, and the 3 days after the feast, be all of immunity and freedom for all the Jews in my realm. No man shall have authority to meddle with them or to molest any of them in any matter. I will also that there be enrolled among the king's forces about 30,000 men of the Jews, to be given pay as belongs to all the king's forces. And of them some shall be placed in the king's strongholds, of whom also some shall be set over the affairs of the kingdom, which are of trust. And let the overseers and governors take of them as belongs to every office. And those that are in the fortresses of the king, of them some shall be set in the fortresses, and in the great works of the kingdom. And their captains shall be of themselves, and they shall walk after their own laws, as the king commanded in the land of Judea. And the 3 governments that are added to Judea from the country of Samaria shall be joined with Judea, that they may be reckoned to be under one, that they may not obey other authority than the high priest. As for Ptolemais and the land pertaining thereto, I give it as a free gift to the sanctuary at Jerusalem for the necessary expenses of the sanctuary. Moreover, I give every year 15,000 shekels of silver out of the king's accounts from the places appertaining, and all the overplus, which the officers paid not in, as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple. And beside this, the 5,000 shekels of silver, which they took from the use of the temple out of the accounts year by year, even those things are released, because they appertain to the priests that minister. And whosoever they be that flee unto the temple at Jerusalem, or within the liberties thereof, being indebted unto the king, or for any other matter, let them be released, and all that they have in my realm. For the building also and repairing of the works of the sanctuary, expenses shall be given of the king's accounts. Yes, and for the building of the walls of Jerusalem, and for the fortifying thereof round about, expenses shall be given out of the king's accounts. Now, when Jonathan and the people heard these words, they gave no credit unto them, nor received them, because they remembered the great evil that Demetrius had done in Israel, for he had afflicted them very sore. For this cause they chose Alexander to be their friend, who in truth was the first that entreated of peace with them, and they remained confederate with him always. The king Alexander gathered together great forces and camped over against Demetrius, and the 2 kings joined battle, and the army of Demetrius fled, and Alexander pursued him and prevailed against them. And he continued the battle very sore until the sun went down, and that day Demetrius was slain. Afterward, Alexander sent ambassadors to Ptolemy, king of Egypt, with this message: Forasmuch as I am come again to my realm, and am set in the throne of my progenitors, and have gotten the dominion, and overthrown Demetrius, and recovered our country. For after I had joined battle with him, both he and his host were discomfited by us, so that we sit in the throne of his kingdom. Now, therefore, let us make a league of amity together, and give me now your daughter to wife, and I will be your son-in-law, and will give both you and her gifts worthy of you." Then Ptolemy the king gave answer, saying, "Happy be the day wherein you did return into the land of your fathers, and sat in the throne of their kingdom. And now will I do to you as you have desired. Write on, but meet me at Ptolemais, that we may see one another. For I will marry my daughter to you according to your desire." So he gave him his daughter Cleopatra, and celebrated her marriage at Ptolemais with great glory, as the manner of kings is. Now King Alexander wrote unto Jonathan that he should come and meet him, who thereupon went honorably to Ptolemais, where he met the two kings, and gave them and their friends silver and gold, and many presents, and found favor in their sight. At that time, certain pestilent fellows of Israel, men of a wicked life, assembled themselves against him to accuse him, but the king would not hear them. Moreover, the king commanded that Jonathan should be taken of his garments and clothed in purple, and they did so. And the king made him sit by himself, and said unto his princes, "Go with him into the midst of the city, and make proclamation, that no man complain against him of any matter, and that no man trouble him for any manner of cause." Now when his accusers saw that he was honored according to the proclamation, and clothed in purple, they fled all away. So the king honored him, and wrote him among his chief friends, and made him a duke, and partaker of his dominion. Afterward, Jonathan returned to Jerusalem with peace and gladness. Furthermore, in the 165th year, came Demetrius, the son of Demetrius, out of Crete into the land of his fathers. Whereof, when King Alexander heard tell, he was right sorry, and returned into Antioch. Then Demetrius the king made Apollonius, the governor of Cilicia, his general, who gathered together a great host, and camped in Jambia, and sent unto Jonathan the high priest, saying, "You alone lift up yourself against us, and I am laughed to scorn because of you. And why do you vaunt your power against us in the mountains? Now, therefore, if you trust in your own strength, come down to us into the plain, and there let us try the matter together, for with me is the power of the cities. Ask and learn who I am, and the rest that take our part, and they shall tell you that your foot is not able to stand before our face, for your fathers have been twice put to fight in their land. Wherefore now you shall not be able to abide the horsemen, and so great a power in the plain, where is neither stone nor flint, nor place to flee unto." So when Jonathan heard these words of Apollonius, he was moved in his mind, and choosing 10,000 men, he went out of Jerusalem. And Simon his brother met him for to help him. And he pitched his tents against Joppa. But they of Joppa shut him out of the city, because Apollonius had a garrison there, and they fought against it. Then they of the city were afraid, and opened the gates. And Jonathan made peace with them, and took the city, and set a garrison there. Also Apollonius heard of it, and he took 3,000 horsemen, with a great host of footmen, and went to Azotus as one that journeyed, and therewith drew him forth into the plain, because he had a great multitude of horsemen in whom he trusted. Then Jonathan followed after him to Azotus, where the armies joined battle. Now Apollonius had left 1,000 horsemen in ambush. So Jonathan perceived that there was an ambush behind him, for they had compassed in his host, and cast darts at the people from morning till evening. But the people stood still, as Jonathan had commanded them, and so the enemy's horses were tired. Then brought Simon forth his host, and set them against the footmen, for the horsemen were spent, who were discomfited by him, and fled. The horsemen also, being scattered in the field, fled to Azotus, and went into Beth-dagon, their idol's temple, for safety. But Jonathan set fire on Azotus, and the cities round about it, and took their spoils, and the temple of Dagon also, and burned them with fire. Thus there were burned and slain with the sword about 8,000 men. And from thence Jonathan removed his host, and camped against Askelon, where the men of the city came forth and met him honorably. From whence he returned to Jerusalem with all the spoils. So when King Alexander heard these things, he honored Jonathan yet more, and he sent him a buckle of gold, as the custom is to give such as are of the king's blood, and he gave him Ekron with the borders thereof in possession. Chapter 8. Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans.